Okay. Prynawn da, croeso I cyfarfod, diolch I chi gyd am ddod. Please note that this meeting is being recorded and may be broadcast via the authority's internet site. The images and sound recording may also be used for training purposes within the authority. Okay. Agenda item number 1, apologies for absence. Have we got any?
No apologies being received, Chair.
Lovely, thank you, Michelle. Declarations of interest, anyone? Okay, I'm not too sure if this is a declaration of interest, but it's just in regards to charging for wheel bins. I had mine stolen last week, so I'm not being vindictive or anything with some of the questions I ask. Right, agenda item number 3, Neighbourhood Services Corporate Self-Evaluation 2020-2021. And I think this will be starting off, it'll be Judith presenting, and I believe we've got lots of officers here that can answer questions if need be.
Thank you, Chair. This report focuses on the planning and neighbourhood services self-evaluation completed last year. The report highlights the key findings, and the background paper contains the individual service area detail. Since the previous self-evaluation was carried out, the services within neighbourhood services have had to respond to 2 catastrophic events, namely Storm Dennis and the COVID-19 pandemic. The information contained in the background paper details how services have responded. Needless to say, it is commendable that services have continued to operate their day-to-day business, ensuring that the public in Merthyr Tydfil continue to be served, whilst also responding to the devastation caused by Storm Dennis and the challenges presented by the pandemic. Without the commitment of neighbourhood services staff, the rate of rebuilding and the recovery efforts would have been severely compromised. The overall judgment is adequate, and questions from Scrutiny Committee members are invited, and officers from all services are participating.
Lovely, thank you, Judith. We'll go on to questions. Clive?
Thank you, Chair. On one of the points that Judith Jones has just made in regards to Storm Dennis, there were various parts of the county borough affected by that storm in particular. Are we on track now to do all the work that needs to be done? Because I think we had monies via the Welsh Government to cover that those problems.
Yes, we are, and I'll ask Karen Morris to give some more detail on it.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, we are on track. Obviously, we've got 50-odd projects required, so it was a 3-year programme that we set for ourselves. And yeah, we're going okay at the minute. Obviously, the Plymouth feeder in Troedyrw was our highest priority scheme because of the amount of flooding that occurred there, and that is coming to an end now. We've only a few weeks left, and we've finished that scheme. So yeah, if there's any other specific questions, I'll be happy to answer them. But yeah, we are on programme yet.
And wasn't there work, Carwyn, through you, Chair, to be carried out in Pendrabach, which was due to start last month? Yeah,
so we've again, that's still a Plymouth feeder. We didn't want the 2 schemes to overlap in terms of the one in Troedyrw and Pendrabach, so we've held that back. But that is out to tender now, so we will be starting that as soon as the feeder in Troedyrw is finished. We'll be starting in Pendrabach.
Okay, thank you. Can I ask my other questions, Chair, or has anybody else indicated?
No, Clive, fire away, and I think Councillor David Jones is next. He had his hand raised at one time. Okay, on page 10, under paragraph 6, under the heading where we want to be, roughly about halfway down, I quote, it says, we want a behavioural change officer. Can you explain to me in the Scrutiny Committee what that behavioural change officer will be and going to do, and is that appointment due to be made this year?
Thanks, Councillor. Yeah, the behavioural change officer is waste related, so it's specifically an intervention to help with our waste recovery target and the Welsh Government targets that are set. We have no plans at the moment to fill it. There is no budget for that post at the moment, but it's in an effort to help us reach our challenging Welsh Government targets, which, as you'll be aware, are increasing to 70% in 2 years' time. Paul Davis and Steve Thomas are on the call. I don't know if they want to add anything to that.
In the absence of one of those officers coming in, Chair, does that mean that that officer would be encouraging people to recycle in every shape or form? I mean, we're encouraging people as much as we can over the years, but getting down to the nitty-gritty, the daily tasks of that individual will be what? Tackling various people who are not complying with recycling everything.
If I can come in with there, Councillor.
Yeah.
Sorry, I was a bit slow there. My internet seems to be a bit slow this afternoon. What a behavioural change officer will do, apart from the day-to-day knocking of doors, giving people advice, trying to encourage people to recycle in the schemes that we've got going, they also meet up with the community groups. We did. Jennifer Zeka was a behavioural change officer for 2.5 years, but we only had funding from Welsh Government for 2.5 years. Since Jen has gone, she's moved on now to Bridgend Council to do the same job. Since Jen has gone, we've obviously seen a slump in our participation rates.
Yeah, right. Thank you for that answer, Paul. I mean, the same officer, I presume, whenever they're appointed, will deal with other issues. For example, we're all aware as councillors that of the 27,300 residents out there, certain of them are still putting their food waste in the black bin, and we've been recycling now for some years. So is it apart from plastics, etc., and cans? I mean, in this day and age, I do not understand why residents, even though they are given a blue bin, refuse to use it and put food waste in the black bins. So I don't quite know how you try and change the behaviour of individuals like that.
I think the only way well, the Welsh Government guidelines on is that we change the behaviour through education. Obviously, we are trying to get the heavier materials out to the black bin, because obviously if we send more to landfill, then we've got to recycle more to get to the percentages. So what we are trying to do, and what we've, as you know, for the last 6 months, we've had an extra warden funded for 6 months, going around trying to knock doors, looking in people's bins and actually getting the electricals out of people's bins. We've had a bit of a backlash from members of the public, officers and politicians that, you know, why is he looking in my bin? It's the only reason we are trying to do things like this is to get the heavier stuff, such as electricals, food, the glass, out of the black bin and into our recycling schemes.
Yeah, and I accept, Paul, that everybody's got an uphill struggle with that, but we've got to get everybody, 100% of them, to achieve someday, particularly if we're going to try and reach the 70% targets. Anyway, my other question is... Yeah.
Just add, in addition to what Paul said there, I was just going to say, if we are successful in appointing a behavioural change officer or getting funding for it, we see that as a big role for them in the schools as well. So, you know, educating children in, you know, the need to recycle and hopefully taking that message home then.
Yeah, my experience, Judith, to you, Chair, is that the children, most of the children, if 100% of the children know exactly what to do, it's their parents need educating on this particular aspect, because they haven't abided by what they're supposed to do from day one. My other question is, under paragraph 7, what we need to do next. I'm a little surprised, having read that there's no mention there of one of the biggest problems that faces this council and every other council in the United Kingdom, and that is to the extent of the amount of litter that's thrown away and dropped everywhere. It's a huge issue. I'll just give you an example. Judith knows this because I went for a walk yesterday evening down at the Merthyr Tydfil leisure site. Well, you had to see the amount of litter that's been dropped all around there, and frankly, most of it, if not all of it, is coming from McDonald's. It was, what I saw last night was utterly appalling, and it's even blown onto a section of the Taft Trail where you can gain access to it at the rear of the Merthyr Tydfil Leisure Centre. Now, my understanding is that we've currently got 14 litter pickers in the county borough. That's it. That's the total. Take out their holidays for 14, sickness or any training requirements, and my poor maths is that there will be no more, at the most, at any one day, maximum of 12 litter pickers covering the whole county borough. So these people who do an absolutely first-class, marvellous job in the county of Merthyr Tydfil, we're up against it in trying to keep up with picking up tons of litter that people couldn't care less about dropping. But I didn't see anything marked in there as to what our plan was to tackle that in the future, Chair.
No, you're right, there isn't anything in there. However, we have got work underway at the moment with the probation service to try and boost our resources in that respect. Also, you'll be aware of the Kickstart programme that's due to start in the authority, and we have requested some additional litter pickers through that. And we've also applied to the authority's apprenticeship scheme for some street scene operatives, part of which their duties would be litter picking.
So, Judith, are we likely to see then any of this coming to fruition? Because, for example, I heard about the probation service a few months ago. I'm not aware that there are groups of those under the auspices of the probation, supervised by the probation service, working at any point in the county borough. You know, I fully understand that, but I don't know whether these ad hoc schemes outside full-time employees is the real answer with the huge problem that we are faced with every day.
Yeah, well, we are trying to embed them in the service. I think that's the long-term ambition now, is to embed them into the service. We're aware that a couple of other authorities do that with their frontline services, and it works quite well. So, you know, we hope we're not going to get resources any other way. So we hope that will be one way of doing it.
So these various groups, are we going to see any of them? For example, we're nearly halfway through April at the moment. Are we likely to see some of these groups out there picking up the litter within the next 2 months or so?
Yeah, Councillor Hughes, Rob Barnett and myself met with the probation service last Wednesday, I believe it was, and we're in the latter stages of agreeing the SLA with them.
And is there more than one group, for example, sticking with the probation service, is there more than one group and they'll be used at any part of the county borough?
Yeah, they've asked us to look at a number of projects. So that, you know, it's kind of a team supervised by one person. but there can be a number of projects ongoing at one time.
Okay, thank you, Chair.
Okay. Before I come to Thomas, Councillor David Jones had his hand raised at one stage. I don't know if you had questions, Di.
Always, Declan, always. Am I okay to come in now, Chair?
Of course you are. Fire away.
Thank you. My first question is for Judith. Our new enforcement officer has recently been brought in. Can you give an overview of their main roles, please?
Which department are you referring to, Councillor?
Enforcement.
Planning enforcement or?
No. Paul, Gemma's old job.
Oh, right, okay.
In Paul Jones's department.
They sit under Sue Gow in the Environment and Health Department.
Right. So what? Oh, that's an alternative. So there's no department as we used to have with Gemma and Paul currently operational. Is that correct?
Well, the fly tipping service now sits with Environmental Health.
I see what Judith's saying. It's a different portfolio now, not neighbourhood services. It's gone into regen.
Yep, fair enough. Again, my second question is for Judith. I think. I understand the prices for our recyclables have dropped. Can you give us an idea of how much they have dropped by percentage-wise and pound-wise, please, and the potential impact this has had on the service?
I'm not sure if we'd have details with us. Steve, I don't know, are you able to give those precise details?
Well, I can't give the precise ones, Councillor, but our income was about £100,000 down on the previous year. So for last year, compared to the year before, it's normally around 330,000. So we're more or less 30% down.
Yeah, appreciate that. And what effect has that had on the service?
The service has continued as normal. I don't think I'm in a position to sort of answer that really, but I don't know if Judith and Paul could expand on it. But yeah, we've continued delivering the service as we would have in any other year.
Yeah, I agree with that, Steve. Yeah.
Right, thank you for that. This one then is probably for the portfolio member, Councillor Hughes. As has been mentioned earlier, soon our recycling target will be 70%. As far as I'm aware, our recycling figures have remained pretty stable since 2016, 17, 18, thereabouts. How confident are you that we will hit this target in the future? And what are you looking at to ensure we hit that target?
Well, I am sure we do all we can to hit that target. Obviously, it's quite a big jump from 64% up to 70%. However, we have got the new recycling machines coming on now, new vans coming in, which we be able to carry more stuff on. Also up in the waste sites, we got new machines up there that pushes down the waste into the bins, so that we can carry more in the bins instead of being just chucked in there. Now we press them right down so we can get more into them. Obviously, with the extra people that we hope to bring in now with the probation, working alongside the fly tipping team, that we can recycle more of the fly tipping stuff that we bring in. So that will help us with the waste as well, with the recycling as well. And with the kickstart people, we'll have more people out there where we make sure that everything we collect, any recyclable, will go into recycling rather than what it is now. A lot of the time they just put it in bags and just chuck it into the waste bin instead of recycling them. So I am confident, but it will be a challenge. And let's be honest with you, we wouldn't be here if we didn't have that challenge, would we? So I've got every confidence in the staff. We've got good staff out there, and we've got the enforcement officer going around educating people how to put stuff into the recycling with the keeping up with the Joneses. So I am confident we will meet it, because that's what Mercer always does. We always meet our targets for me. So I got all confidence in the men and you.
Yeah, thank you for that. I actually had a question for somebody else, but just to roll because of your answer. In areas where recycling is low or not as good as other areas, and I listened to them saying about the behavioural change officer earlier on, which I think will be a very positive move. What else will we be looking to do to encourage residents in low recycling areas to increase their participation in recycling?
Well, I don't know if Paul's coming in or you want me to answer it, Paul.
No, I think.
Well, as you know, we're going around with keeping up with the Joneses. We are targeting people who aren't recycling. We're in phase 3 now, where we are targeting the areas that aren't doing any recycling at all. So we are now getting to nitty-gritty places. So I'm sure with the men we got there and the staff we got, we are encouraging people to recycle. That's all we can do is encourage. And then if they don't, at the last option, it'd be enforcement, wouldn't it? But where we can educate people, that's the most important thing we will be doing. Paul, I'm sure you can elaborate on that answer.
Yes, obviously, Dave, we are, Councillor Jones, we're trying to do as best we can. We have got, as Councillor who said then, we are targeting certain areas. We don't want to over-target places, because obviously we've got 2 keeping up the Jones officers who are doing the whole borough, so we can't just do one place all the time. There are places which are lower than others in recycling for one reason and another, but I don't want to go into that. But we are trying to, for the whole borough, to have sort of an uplift and even if we just target in one material, so we take in the heavier stuff out of the bin. I keep on banging on about the heavier stuff in the bin, but obviously if we are sending less to landfill and to energy from waste, then we haven't got to recycle so much, and that is the key, that we need to get the heavy stuff out of the black bins.
Yeah, I totally agree with you. It's a double-edged sword, really. The more we recycle, the less goes to landfill, and vice versa.
Yeah,
and I totally agree and support with removing everything that we can from the refuse into recycling, reuse, etc. Whilst you're on there, my last question, Chair. There are many complaints that residents deem the blue bags not suitable for purpose. Are we looking at any alternative method for collecting the plastics and cardboards?
Just the plastics to go in the blue bag, David.
Plastics and cans.
Yeah. At the moment, we've having a bit of a problem up in Ernest Street and Council Street in Pendarren. So I've asked Sarah to have a look at a full zip top blue bag. They're more expensive, and that's why we didn't purchase them in the beginning. And obviously, they limit the amount of recycling you can actually put in the blue bag. But I'm going to try. We're hopefully going to get some funding, get some blue bags in with a zip right away around the top. Even if it's just for 2 areas, to do a trial period on it to see if it reduces the amount of litter escaping from the bags, and 2, if they're more fit for purpose.
Yeah, I look forward to it, Paul. And as previously happened with the trial with the trolley bins. It probably won't be suitable for everywhere, but there are areas where it will certainly make an improvement. Thank you very much, everybody, for answering my questions.
No problem.
Lovely, thanks, Dave. I think we've got a few people now that want to come in and ask questions, and they're in this order. It'll be Thomas Butler, Malcolm Colburn, Clive Jones, and Lee Davis. So, Thomas, if you want to come in.
Hi. On item 3.4, it says that small electricals and textiles were added to the materials collected on the recycling vehicles. Can you clarify what are classified as small electricals?
Yeah, anything which is handheld, so air dryers, current tongs, whatever, small electricals. We also take the toaster, the kettle. It's a way of getting people not to put in their black bin. If somebody hasn't got a means of getting to the CA sites and disposing of them as we would like to, then we will pick them up on the curbside. Having said that, last week I did see one of the crews coming back with a 50-inch telly on the back. So they are picking up a lot of the waste, that a lot of the electricals that we shouldn't. But no, talking about handheld, it's more often than not, it's the hairdryer, it's your straighteners and things like
that. Thank you. And on item 3.6, you mentioned the recycling, composting and preparation targets, but you don't mention this year's targets. What are this year's targets?
Steve, you want to come in with that?
Yeah, the target remains at 64% until it changes to 70% in 2024-25.
Thank you. And you are on item 4.1, you were mentioning about education in schools. I'm currently in year 10 and I've never received any information on waste awareness. I'm also a member of the Eco Committee and I think that this does need to be implemented.
Yeah, what we've been tasked to do through our RT&I plan is to engage with the schools. It's been delayed slightly because of COVID restrictions. Obviously, the schools have been closed and they're not areas that we can easily access. What we've done recently is made a request to the schools for the contacts of the heads and the eco coordinators. Once that's been collated and restrictions lift a little bit, so the late spring, early summer probably, we'll make some initial contact with the schools and we'll start the programme from there.
And last one, on item 4.1, it mentions S46s and FPMs. What happens to people who have received an S46 and what is the difference between an S46 and an FPN?
An S46, the S refers to section and 46 is the section of the Environmental Protection Act that it refers to. The section 46 is just a notice saying that if an offence is committed subsequently, then that resident will receive an FPN, a fixed penalty notice.
Thank you. That's all.
Lovely, thank you, Tom. Malcolm?
Yeah, thank you, Chair. Actually, my question's been asked and answered, but I would just like to say how pleased I am to hear about the trial for the blue bags, because they are the source of the most complaints I get regarding recycling is the unsuitability of the blue bags. So I'm really pleased to hear about that trial. Hope it's a success and it can get rolled out across the borough. Thank you.
Lovely. Clive?
Yes, Chair. I got a question, but I'll follow up on that. And I look forward to the outcome of that blue bag pilot. I agree entirely with Councillor Colburn that part of the problem we've got is that you can't properly secure the overlap to try and stop any items falling out or blowing out of those bags. If they're zipped up, I think that'll go a long way to curing a problem up here have currently existed for some time. Can I want to clarify with Judith the issue of the fly tipping team that Councillor David Jones asked about? I'm clearly under the misapprehension that the fly tipping team was due to be transferred to the Neighbourhood Services Directorate, because we've had a new appointment there who I think has settled into the job extremely well in his first few days. That's Sean Yem James. Was it ever the intention of the fly tipping team to be moved into the Neighbourhood Services Directorate and never coming out of being under part of environmental health?
So the fly tipping team, which consists of the environmental health officers, which was Gemma, but is now Sean, while Gemma's on maternity leave, and by the team, if you mean the operatives are collected, yeah, they've all gone over into environmental health. Right.
Well, clearly, I don't know whether I'm the only councillor, but from what I was advised a few weeks ago, I thought that it was going over to you, but quite clearly they've never moved and they are still under the Alan Owen.
Clive, they were in Neighbourhood Services,
Yeah.
but they went from us to environmental health.
Right. That's what I'm saying. I was under the misapprehension that, perhaps I've said it the wrong way around, that they were still being retained where they were, but clearly there's been a clear move out of your directorate.
That's correct. The reason for that is there's more environmental officers in that team and they can pick up the work together. It would only be Sean dealing with it. They can have other people who've got the skills to deal with it. That's why it was felt that's the best team for it to be in.
Yeah, okay, thank you for that.
And I think Lee Davis.
Yeah, thanks, Chair. It's picking up from what Councillor Jones, David Jones said earlier about the cost or what we sell the value of our recycling for. Is this still a necessity that dry recycling is separated? Because obviously, the market was quite high and was exported to China. Is there a need for curbside recycling? Source, separating that source at the moment?
Yeah. There's a definite need to. I don't know what's happening. I can hear myself.
Can everybody mute themselves except Paul, please?
Is that better?
Much better, Paul. Thank you.
Yeah. Sorry about that. No, Councillor Davis. Yeah, obviously there's a need for separation. For us to send our waste to say Amgen for them to sort it out for us would cost us over £1 million a year. Obviously there's a big expense in the beginning when we bought the baler and we bought the sorting line and we bought all the vehicles which were purpose made for the job. But obviously now we've got the infrastructure up in place, and we would step back 1 million miles if we had to go back to commingled.
Yeah.
You're on mute, Councillor.
Sorry. Yeah, I wasn't asking for it to go back to commingled, but if there was something within, in the wrong bag, is it such a problem that for the resident if it was done by mistake? That's all.
No, I always told the crews, and I always spoke to all the crews and told them you've got to have a bit of leeway with every resident. You've got to have a bit of empathy with the customer always. If there's a one item or two items in the wrong receptacle, then I tell them to sort it and take it. But obviously, if they can give a bit of advice on the doorstep. The only problem we got is certain residents throughout the borough once you do it once for them, they do it continuously, week in, week out, and that's where we start tagging people. So the first time, obviously, the boys are told to, if there's a bottle in the blue bag which shouldn't be there, take the bottle out. If you can educate, and then only tag if it's a continuous thing.
That's good to know. Thank you.
Okay, anybody else got any questions? Clive, your hand is still up. Is that a legacy?
Yes, it is, sorry.
Okay. I just got a few questions before we go on to comments then. On page 27 of the background paper, it says accept certain types of trade recycling at HWRCs with a charging system. Obviously, we're in the midst of a fly tipping epidemic, to be honest, at the moment, and hopefully these things would help, because obviously some of the fly tipping is from small businesses, perhaps. When is this likely to happen? Have you got a date in mind?
Steve, do you want to come in on that one?
Yeah, thanks, Paul. We haven't got a date in mind. It's something that was discussed a number of years ago now as an option for us to, as an action for us to achieve our targets. We do appreciate that we are quite strict on the HMRCs, as you know, the permit system, stopping traders using it. But for small businesses in the community, there are very few options for them to dispose of their materials. So the thinking behind it was that if we could possibly charge for certain materials, especially the materials that are of a low cost or an income or cost neutral to us, such as scrap metal, then it gives local traders an outlet at a reasonable charge, and obviously it's an income for the authority as well. So it's something that we've got in our action plan, but with no sort of firm date to implement. If indeed we do implement it, it's just there as a suggestion.
Lovely, thank you, Stephen. The next one is on page 27, but I don't want to overstep my mark because this is mentioned on the next agenda item. Clive, were you going to ask some questions on the recycle and go bins?
Yes.
Right, I won't ask that. I'll wait till the next agenda item. You can ask the questions on that then, no problem. I have got one more question, and it's at 6.0 on the 15th bullet point, which is on the top of page 7 of this report. And it says, we want to develop a replacement playground program to address much of the play equipment that is 20 plus years old. As this has now been mentioned in the publicly available document and can be got online, can you tell me some more about this, please?
Rob, do you want to come in on that?
Yeah, thank you, Declan. Yeah, the proposal is that we carry out a review, which was last carried out, I suppose, in the mid-90s, which was when we had some substantial capital monies to spend. Nothing significant since that has been spent on the playgrounds. So we're looking to review our current 55 sites. Obviously, there'll be consultation with the public as well as all council members. And the idea is to rationalise the numbers, so to drop from the current 55 to a more manageable figure. We don't know what that figure is, so that'll come out of the consultation. Yeah, so there has been some capital money set aside for this financial year. I think it's 200,000, which will probably do 4 or 5 sites. So the next phase is to start the consultation, I suppose, and decide which orders of priority that we're going to spend that money on.
Okay, lovely. Thank you, Robert. Malcolm, did you want to come in?
Yeah, thank you, Chair. Yeah, just going back a step, following on from what other council have said, and Paul was saying about us tagging customers for not sorting recycling. I just wondered if it's been a week now since we started separating the glass and cardboard. Have most people got the message, and at what point are we going to start tagging people for the failing to separate those?
Yeah, we have. Councillor, we're having good feedback off the boys, and the majority of people have got the message, and they've applied for, or they're in the process of applying for an extra box. We've got 2 types of tags. We had more tags made, especially for the cardboard, which is a lighter message, just saying that they need to separate the glass and card. Obviously, if it continues, I've told the boys that we need to give at least a month's grace for people to be able to get the receptacles and start separating themselves. So within that month, then we'll start tagging people. But I've told the boys at the moment they just separate and take whatever waste is there.
All right, that's good to hear. Thanks, Paul. Yeah, I think it's a good move to separate them. I can never understand why they were mixed together in the first place, to be quite honest. I don't have a lot of either, so what I'll be doing is doing glass one week and cardboard the next week to save having 2 boxes.
Yeah.
What's sort of the time frame on getting boxes out to people after they apply online? Is it done on their next collection day, or do we have a separate vehicle doing it?
We had a small amount of funding to get the first. To be honest, we didn't anticipate. What the feedback we're having from the wardens is nearly every time they go to a property about missed recycling or about recycling not presented properly, more often than not, our residents got 5 or 6 well boxes already. We didn't anticipate that that we were going to have such an influx of demand for more boxes. We delivered somewhere in the region of 3,000 in the first couple of weekends we worked. Whereas a normal week, we are getting about 160 applications for either bins, bags, food bins, or wow boxes. Last week, we had up to nearly 800 requests. I've got 1 man and 1 vehicle doing it, and that's all the resources I've got. So obviously, I put a banner on the website saying that it is a little bit of a delay, but also I've spoken to the crews to make sure that they are not penalising any of the residents by leaving their waste.
That's great. Thanks so much for that, Paul. That's good to hear.
Paul, just a couple of things I picked up on what you said. I take it you're behind on delivering the recycling boxes and probably the black bins as well. Is it possible for residents to click and collect, phone up and collect these things?
No, because all the receptacles are stored in Unit 5, and obviously all my staff are at Unit 20.
Okay, fair point.
And we don't think we'd want members of the public just coming into Unit 5, just to pick things up. I am behind at the moment, Councillor, but I am trying to put something in place. I've spoken to Judith, the Chief Officer, and we are trying to put something in place that I can take perhaps a resource off somewhere else for a week or so and just catch up on them. But just going back one step, as you mentioned, but if somebody is paid for the administration and the delivery of a wheel bin, I've told the delivery driver obviously that they got to prioritise these because people are paying for them.
Okay, lovely, thank you, Paul. Just one more question on this new initiative to separate the glass and the cardboard. How have you been getting the message out to the public? Is it only online?
Steve?
Yeah, we put the information, Councillor, up on the website. Corporate communications have also been posting regular tweets on numerous social media platforms. And we put a leaflet in with this year's council tax bills. So a leaflet has gone to every household in the borough.
Lovely, so everyone's aware. Thank you, Stephen.
Okay.
I've got no further questions. Has anybody else got any questions? Okay, we'll go on to comments. Anybody got any comments?
Yep.
Clive?
Yeah, thank you, Chair. Well, I'm just pleased to hear that we've got these various groups from the probation service, etc. All I hope is that these groups can start ASAP, because, as I said previously, Chair, with at the most only 12 litter pickers at any one time covering the whole county borough, they are not going to pick up the vast amounts of litter that's been dropped throughout the county borough. And I think that is, frankly, a #1 priority to try and get our county borough as clean and as green as it should be. Thank you.
Thank you, Clive. Anybody else got any comments? Okay, I've got one. One of the recurring themes in the background paper when officers have put together their reports is a lack of money. And obviously all these new initiatives being brought in, by Welsh Government in regards to the Environment Act, increasing in recycling rates from 64% up to 70%. These are obviously costing the department's money. So I got to say hats off to the whole Neighbourhood Services Department. And in 5.2 of the report, it says, without the commitment of neighbourhood services staff, the rate of rebuilding and recovery efforts would have been severely compromised. And this is in regards to both Storm Dennis and the coronavirus pandemic. And Clive mentioned it earlier. We said neighbourhood services give a first class and a marvellous job done by the whole neighbourhood services team, and so I'd just like to echo that, and I'd just like to say well done. No more comments. Okay, can I just ask, one of the recommendation was for scrutiny committee members to provide officers feedback on the content of the report developed through completion of the self-evaluation process. Now, committee members I've reviewed the overall judgment, which is average, and I think we'll just take a vote. I think if everyone's happy that it is average, or if anyone has got any, if anyone would like to come in and say that they disagree or anything like that. So shall we take a vote? Maria, do you want to do this, or democratic?
If democratic, good chair, I haven't got the facility.
Okay. So if I just ask, I think the normal way to go is raise your hands if anybody disagrees that the service is average. Okay.
Yeah, I believe the judgment is adequate.
Adequate. Sorry, I do apologise. Thank you, David. So anyone? We've done. No one has voted for the disagree. Anyone like to abstain that the judgment is adequate? Okay, and all those in favour that the judgment is adequate, raise your hands now. And democratic, if you want to note, I think everyone has voted that in agreement with the officers that its outcome is adequate.
Yes, the vote has been noted.
Okay. Okay, if you want to lower your hands, everyone. I'd just like to thank all the officers involved for giving your views, for answering questions from members. I think some officers will have to stay on for maybe the next couple of items, but anyone that's not involved in the next couple of agenda items, they can leave. Okay, the next agenda item is agenda item number 4, improving recycling rates and vehicle breakdowns. And I think this will be presented by either Judith or Paul.
Yeah, Paul is going to take this one, thanks.
Right. Yeah, as you can see that within the report, we've just purchased, with regards to vehicle breakdowns, we are technically a year behind ordering new vehicles, obviously because of the pandemic and because a lot of the garages and maintenance areas closed down. We have now managed to get everything ordered. So that's 2 small Roma equips and 6 big turbo vehicles. These will be in service by June, July this year. As I say, back in 2015, when Welsh Government bought the first Roma equips for us, we were sort of like the guinea pigs, as we were the first authority in Wales and one of the first authorities in Britain to try the curbside vehicles. It hasn't worked out very well for us in the long run because we've had a lot of issues with the vehicles, a lot of breakdowns, a lot of recalls, a lot of safety issues. But hopefully going forward now from June, July, as I say, with the new vehicles we bought for recycling, It should be a much better future for us. We've just renewed the whole of the refuse fleet, and we've also renewed the green waste fleet. So all in all, from a fleet management point of view for waste management, I think more or less we are smack up to date. Even though we've gone through a year of the pandemic, we've managed to order the vehicles and get them in.
Okay, lovely. Thank you, Paul. We'll go on to questions from members, and I see Clive has his hand up.
Thank you, Chair. We start off with the very point that Paul has made about the purchase of the new vehicles. Can you explain to myself, Paul, and probably other members of the committee, if you're talking about the recycling vehicles, which caused a number of difficulties, what is the actual difference now with these new vehicles compared to what you had or purchased in 2015?
Yeah, obviously in 6 years, as we all know, in 6 years' time, there's a big advance in technology. The vehicles we've bought now, we've gone for a different make altogether. We've gone for Turbogs. Where all of large vehicles previously we were advised by Welsh Government to go for all Rome equips, not to split the fleet. Well, it didn't work out for us. Having said, I'm saying it didn't work out, but at the end of the day, these vehicles are travelling down every street every day. We had 10 rounds and only one spare vehicle. You know, from the start we were fighting a battle. You can't have one spare vehicle to cover 10. Yeah, it just doesn't work. We've gone from 10 rounds down to 8 rounds. So that makes it now that I've got 3 spare vehicles. With those 3 spare vehicles, we are managing to cover the whole fleet. We have hired in from Blaenau Gwent a couple of times this year, basically because we've had recalls, we've had gearboxes, we've had vehicles off the road for 2 or 3 weeks. But going forward, we've ordered 6 new Turbogs, which are instead of the large Rome equips we got now, and 2 small Rome equips, which we believe is the best split.
So obviously, with the increase in the number of breakdown vehicles, and as you say, reducing to 8 rounds, and you'll have brand new vehicles, you're not going to have the number of breakdowns that you've had. And I know that's caused yourself and others a massive headache in your part of the directorate. And also, if we then have to hire in vehicles, as you think you said, from Blaenau Gwent, we'll be saving that amount of money as well. So when these vehicles are on the road, the new ones, from June and July, number one, should be saving money, and number two, you will not be having the extent, I would have thought, by any means, of the number of breakdowns, Paul.
Definitely, Councillor. It has been a challenge the last year or two, obviously, because we're a year behind ordering them through the pandemic. We are a year behind. You know, these are 6-year-old vehicles now. They were the first of the bunch. So everything's gone against us so far. But hopefully, going forward in June and July, like you say, when the new vehicles are brought in, we are going to monitor it closely. We're going to keep 3 of the best out of the old bunch, if you know what I mean, of the vehicles as spares. I haven't bought new as spares just to save the authority more money. We're going to keep the best of the bunch that we send in back, and obviously we'll have the 8 new ones to go straight into service.
Great, thank you, Paul. On a different subjects now, before I forget, because the chairman's reminded me, it is mentioned in the report about the stop and go bins, which it hoped to purchase and put in particular parts of the county borough. Can I ask how, for example, where are these likely to be sited? And I've seen these bins in other authorities' areas. How are you going to stop if, for example, they've marked out in sections for bottles and cans? How are you going to stop members of the public putting in items which shouldn't be in these bins?
A couple of years ago, when I was involved in cleansing, I think you can remember, Councillor Jones, so we put a couple of these bins in the town centre. We put one outside opposite the Vulcan Inn and what have you.
Yeah.
There is a quick answer. There is no way of stopping people. If people are adamant and putting and just going against the grain and putting glass in without cans and cans in without glass, there's not a lot we can do with it. What we're trying to do is encourage them to put them in the right receptacles. The recycling material then goes to HWRC, where we've got another opportunity that if there is 1 or 2 bottles within a bag of all cans, then we've got the opportunity to take it out there. Obviously, we're not going to say this out loud because we don't want people to purposely put glass in with cans or what have you. But hopefully, through education, if we get another officer to do behavioural change, then we can change the mindset of the general public.
Yeah.
Sorry, Councillor, I'm going back to where we're going to cite them.
Yeah.
We're in consultation at the moment. Well, consultation. We're meeting with Paul Jones and Darren Griffiths from Cleansing. Obviously, they've got a better understanding of where the hotspot litter areas and where these bins should go. So we are speaking to them at the moment, and we're going to come up with a list and probably share it with all the councillors before we actually start installing them.
Right. And Paul, are they more expensive than the ordinary bins?
As I said, I haven't dealt with litter bins probably for 15 years. Listening to what Sarah's saying on purchase, because Sarah's doing this project, listening to what Sarah's saying on the purchase of them, I think they're about 3 times as more expensive than the normal bins, because obviously there's different compartments and they're made out of aluminium rather than the steel ones we put on the roads and what have you. So yeah, they are more expensive, going back to the answer, but obviously they are the way forward.
Okay, thank you. And Chair, if I could ask 1 or 2 other questions, please. On page 19, top of the page there, it says, keeping up with the Joneses. Can I ask, it refers there, I know it's a while ago, the period from September 2019 till March 2020. When it comes down to the actual number of prosecutions, it's 5 in that particular months. The system that we've currently got of issuing these various notices, etc., section 46 and then the FPNs, is it working? Because in my view, there is a hardcore of individuals that, frankly, at the end of the day, couldn't care less about the system that we adopt. And for me, it's how we deal with these. So ultimately, if we keep on trying to educate them, then putting tags on, then writing to them, etc., it seems to me for this hardcore, the only language perhaps at the end of the day they're going to understand is when they eventually, and that will take some months, is ending up in court.
Yeah, I agree with you, Councillor. Obviously when Welsh Government brought this Keeping Up with the Joneses scheme to us, we presented it to full council at the time, and then we presented it to a subgroup. It was thought that the process we had in place was adequate. At the time, Welsh Government wanted us to miss one. Steve, you can correct me if I'm wrong by you, but Welsh Government wanted us to miss one stage out. So we went from sort of giving people a little bit of a letter of education straight to fining them. But obviously the authority at the time took the view of we needed another stage.
Yeah, that's right, Paul. Yeah, because another stage of education, we were finding that, pardon me, that the figures weren't coming down as they show in the table. But you were pointing, Councillor, exactly about the hardcore. You can see that the number of cases that we send the educational letter to, then that reduces for the section 46, reduces again for the fixed penalty notice, and it is only the hardcore ones that we end up having to prosecute.
And I presume, through you, Chair, that you're well aware the individuals, the households, where they are throughout the county borough, because your staff must be seeing this week in, week out.
Yeah, of course, we're fully aware of what areas of the borough they come from. And to be honest with you, it is a wide range right across the borough. It isn't specific council estates. It is a general mix across the borough. Yeah,
that doesn't surprise me at all, Steve. Can you remind me that after you've sent the letters and trying to educate them, the actual, is it red tags you put on them? Yes. To indicate, well, we've written to you over and over again, we put in a red tag on the bin. What happens then? Does that mean that these people have got to comply and our staff would refuse to empty that bin because there's a red tag on it?
We don't refuse to empty the bin, no. A red tag goes on the handle of the bin at every stage. So from stage 1 right through to the prosecution stage. But to accompany the red tag would be a letter posted through the door. A section 46 notice would be hand delivered and a fixed penalty notice hand delivered as well. At these stages, the table doesn't really reflect the amount of work that goes into this from the wardens, in that we document the stages, but within those stages, there's a lot more communication via telephone, house visits and the like. So some that there won't be any additional, but for a lot of these, especially the ones that go to fixed penalty notice and prosecution stage, there are a lot of telephone conversations and other engagement methods.
I mean, it must frustrate you officers like hell, because I'm sure all the councillors see black bins where the lids it's full to the top. You know, just by looking at it, that there are items in there which definitely should be in there, and clearly the individuals are not recycling as they should, including the Ford waste. And do you anticipate that, I mean, we got to get this right? And as you both say, and the cabinet referred to it, we've got to reach this 70% figure in the year 2024-25. So what we're trying to do now, in just a short few years' time, whether these people are doing it at the moment, they have to do it by then. Otherwise, I would suggest we are highly unlikely to comply with the targets. Mm. And as a result of that, do you anticipate that ultimately it'll end up with more prosecutions taking place?
I think it will. With the side waste enforcement, the top hat into the bin and the excess waste, we have 2 wardens who follow a round and a half each day, which is logistically quite difficult to do, and they do tend to miss a few streets. But with the keeping up the Joneses, we only target 300 properties a day, and that's down to the fact that the wardens have to look in every bin with the keeping up the Joneses, where with the side waste enforcement, they only stop and address where they see excess waste. So the resources are only there to do what we can do at the moment, but if we're not achieving the target, well, we know that to achieve the target, the recyclables are in the wheel bin. So the more that we can get, as you've alluded to a number of times in this meeting, Councillor, we need to get those recyclables out of there and into the recycling streams.
Yeah, and if you've got insufficient staff, by the sound of it at the moment, that area might have to be looked at for us to get up and reach the targets.
Yeah.
Well, we've recently had funding for a temporary additional warden for a 12-month, starting from April, May, up until the same time next year. We've also, over the last couple of years, had 2 officers seconded to us, which are permanently based now in waste services. So we've got 4 permanent wardens and 1 temporary. So we can ramp up what we're doing. Well, once we appoint the temporary warden, then we should have enough wardens to cover each of the 3 rounds, and we've got 2 dedicated to keeping up the Joneses.
Good. So sorry, go on.
Yeah, I was just going to say, but with the 300 properties on the Keeping Up with the Joneses, that is 2 full-time wardens role. To ramp that up, we'd be looking at so many waste and recycling wardens that I don't think it would become cost-effective.
Right. But you will, with this new temporary warden, and you say that person hasn't started yet, but is due in the next 3 weeks. So you'll have 5. Am I right in saying you'll have 5 out there at any one time?
We'll have 5 for this year, yeah.
So hopefully that will be better than what you had in previous years.
Definitely, definitely.
Right. Okay. Fine. And my other question, again, is in relation to what we were able to collect. In 6.3 on page 21, under the heading "Where We Want to Be," you state in a quote, "There's still a considerable quantity of recyclables and food waste being collected in the residual waste bins, and in order to improve our performance, we need to focus on reducing the waste by extracting the recyclable material into the proper waste collection services." I don't know whether that is then what I've just quoted, reliant on these wardens getting round to all these people and a lot more people at any one time, because we've got to get people stopping, put in. I mean, I listened to Paul earlier on to put in electrical items in the black bin. I mean, crikey Moses, in this day and age, they should never be doing that, but they still put in plastic and food waste in there. So is it entirely with only the wardens that we're able to get these people to do what which the vast majority of other residents of the county borough are doing? I mean, you don't need to be a brain surgeon to know that you shouldn't be putting food waste and plastics and cans in the black bins.
Just for you, just to give you a little bit of an insight as well, Councillor. Myself and Steve, we get a report every 6 months from where we send to Energy from Waste all our black bin materials. We've had a report saying that from Merthyr's waste in the last, not so much this year, it has eased a bit, but the previous 6 months, just before the pandemic, we had gas bottles, we had half an engine. Obviously, this material goes to Energy from Waste and it's warmed up to such an high temperature that as soon as they don't go sift through all the waste. As soon as our waste is burnt, they will have explosions from the gas bottles, which they knew was from our waste.
I'm just absolutely astounded. And that's the other thing, I think, both Paul and Stephen, is that the less that these sort of items in there, because what's left then, you refer to as residual waste, that goes to, is it the place in Cardiff to be burnt, in other words?
Yes, that's right.
We are burning items down there, plastics, electrical items, food waste, which we shouldn't be sending there.
Yes.
I'm just absolutely astounded, Chair. Thank you.
Thank you, Clive. Malcolm?
Yeah, thank you, Chair. Yeah, just quickly following on from Councillor Jones's point and your answer there, Paul, is it right that we don't send anything to landfill now? Then it all goes to either recycling or Energy for Waste.
Correct.
Oh,
we don't landfill any waste that's emanated from Merthyr County Borough Council. None of it goes to landfill.
Oh, that's good to hear. My other question was, I understand that we now recycle batteries in purple pouches. Is that correct? I don't know if I missed something, but I didn't know anything about this. There's a resident that actually told me about it. I tried ordering one of these pouches for them online, but it's not on the website. Are we going to have the facility for people to order these purple pouches on the website?
Steve?
Yes, we had some funding that the same funding that provided us with the WE officer that Paul was talking about earlier, to purchase some purple battery bags. It's a mirror of RCT's scheme, it is. We've been hit a little bit with the COVID restrictions in that normally we would put these in civic buildings and allow our residents to call to the nearest one and pick them up. But obviously the COVID restrictions don't allow for non-essential visits to shops. I know they've just opened up again today. So we can start delivering these further afield. For residents, they can currently collect at the HMRCs. The reuse shop, now that it's open, they can hand them out on our behalf. We've got to be careful that we're not helping to spread this virus by handing stuff to people. So we've got some risk assessments in place so that we can do it safely. But as the restrictions are relieved, then obviously we'll get these out further afield by we put information on the website, social media, and such like.
Right. So are these single-use pouches, or do we empty it and give the pouch back to the resident?
No, can you please make sure that the resident fills the pouch before they put it out for collection? Because what we find already, people are putting one battery in the bottom of a long battery pouch and then putting it out for collection. These pouches, honestly now, councillor, these pouches are quite long. They probably, well, for me, a normal person using remote controls, tablet devices, cameras, whatever it may be, it would probably last me a year.
Right, so they're single use then. So when it's full, they put it out and we take it away.
Yes, when it's full,
we don't empty the batteries out and give them the pouch back.
No, it's
right.
single use. Yeah, sorry,
okay. Thank you.
I misunderstood that one.
The plastic is recycled, mind. When it goes to the WE facility, it is extracted and it does go for recycling.
Yeah, by single use, I didn't mean single use plastic. I mean the resident only uses it once. Yeah, that's it. Thank you, Chair.
Lovely, thank you, Malcolm. Councillor David Jones.
Thank you, Chair. Paul, with your previous comments to the manufacturers and body shops with the various vehicles, recycling and refuse vehicles, did they actually listen to those comments and did they act upon them?
The comments on the new vehicles?
When you commented about flaws, for want of a better word.
Oh yeah.
On the previous vehicles, more the body shops now, I suppose, than the manufacturers. Have they actually taken on board our complaints and modified any of the systems?
Yeah, a lot of the systems have been updated and modified on the new small roam equip we got. Obviously, we haven't dealt with Turberg before because we've never had one of their vehicles. Only the only vehicles we've had from Turberg were on trial. We trialed one for a month. We give it to a couple of the crews. The biggest plus point from the Turberg was what kills us during the summer is the cardboard is so dry that it doesn't compact in the back of the vehicle. So soon as that compartment is full, they've got to come back to empty. With the Turberg, you'll see it, David, when it's out and about the new street and what have you. The Turberg has got a overhang at the back, full of just for cardboard. But yeah, going back to your initial question, yeah, they've upgraded a lot of things on the roam equip. But even this week, and we're talking a 6-year-old vehicle, even this week I've had recalls on the vehicles. So they're coming in and happens to every day. They get into the vehicles and changing something on the computers. That's 6 years on. And we put up with that from day one.
That's crazy, just crazy. And one last one is lesser question, I suppose. Will there be fuel savings on the new vehicles? Just, I don't know, from technology, or is it negligible?
It's negligible, very, very limited. I think the Turberg was something on the lines, don't quote me on this, something on the lines of 1.5 miles per gallon more, but nothing that's going to make any difference.
Yeah, appreciate that. And that would then bring me on to another question. Did you consider electric vehicles?
Yeah, I did consider them. They don't do them at the moment on curbsides. They do them on refuse. We trialled a refuse electric vehicle. We had it for a week. It lasted a day and it broke down for the other 4 days. it actually stopped and completely discharged outside P&R Motors on the main road coming back to the depot. And it would not pull a load up Toy Hill. But we are waiting for the new ones. They are saying that they're improving with regards to the strength and the durability. So we are waiting. We are waiting for Welsh Government to get back to us. We've just ordered 4 electric vans for the wardens. So they are going all electric. We've had funding for that. We're also looking at funding for a new refuse vehicle, but obviously I'm a bit dubious after having the last one, and I'll probably want it in for a trial for at least a month or so.
Can I suggest you keep your spare vehicles?
Yeah.
Thank you very much for the answers, and thank you, Chair.
Thank you, Dave. Anybody else got any questions? Malcolm? No? Okay.
Sorry, Chair. Sorry, Chair. I forgot to stand my hand down.
Clive, you want to come back in?
Yes, Chair. It's something that I perhaps I should have asked this long ago. And somebody in the meeting today, I'm sure, has got the answer. But I see a lot of skips being ordered and placed outside people's houses and drives, where workmen have thrown everything and literally the kitchen sink into these bins and everything else. And I just look at them and say, well, that can be recycled, that can be recycled. What happens to the skips from particularly, for example, private residential properties? Where do they go from there? And are all those items that should be recycled?
No.
I can answer that, Clive. Most of the ones in Merthyr go to Bryn Quarry down in Gelligare, where they got 6 men recycling stuff as the skip is tipped up. It's put on conveyor and they recycle what they can.
So to follow up your answer, those that own the skips know that they've got to take them down there. They can't. The items in there, they're aware. A lot of them can be recycled, so they automatically have to be sent in the County Borough of Merthyr Tydfil down to that site in Gelligare.
No. If it's a private company and you've taken a skip out yourself, that private company will take it to the closest landfill. They will landfill the majority of the waste that's on that on that skip. David is right in when they say when they go to Bryn Quarry. If they go down to Bryn Quarry, then he's got a facility, especially for green waste and what have you, with mixed materials, that he can put it across the picking belt. If, for instance, Thomas Waste, you see a lot of Thomas Waste bins and skips in the Merthyr Borough all of a sudden. If, for instance, Thomas Waste skip is outside your house, he will take that back to, he's got his plant at the bottom, just at the top of the Black Rock by Brynmawr.
Right.
He's got a landfill over there. We've got no jurisdiction or no enforcement that we can tell people that if they put recycling in the skip that they've paid for, then they've got to recycle it. That's completely a contract between that person and that company.
So, I mean, not a million miles from where I'm speaking at the moment, there is a skip which is full to the brim, small one, and you can see a load of items in there that should be recycled. So that skip could be just taken to the, for example, the Tricati site, and they pay for it, and it's dumped there.
Yes, and part of the money you were paying. That's why skips are so expensive at the moment. Obviously a normal skip now is probably £220 to £250. The only reason they've gone up so much is because landfill tax has gone up so much. So you're paying over £120 a tonne to take any material into landfill. So as soon as you're taking it in, that's got to be added to the price of the skip.
So if, for example, and it's not part and parcel of legislation at the moment, but if legislation was passed stipulating that anybody who has a skip, it's got to be taken to places like this Gelligare area, there's going to be a hell of a lot more recycling taking place than is currently taking place at the moment. So, as I see it, unless there's legislation, it's just bizarre, in my view, that these are taken there and tipped when they should be recycled.
Yeah, definitely.
If I can come in there, Councillor, there is proposed legislation where there is a ban on landfill for certain materials, wood, food, as a few examples. So that's imminent, really. But the only thing is, and coming back to Paul's point, really, is that it isn't in our ownership. Because a private company collect that from a house, then we have no sort of we can't count that towards our figures.
And well, if it's in our local authority area, perhaps that should be a stipulation in any future legislation. I mean, pleased to hear that at least some of these items they can't dump in something like the tree caddies. But from what you said, all I could see is there's going to be future legislation in the not too distant future when we've got, you know, tons of items being emptied out to skips when all these items should be, or most of them should be, recycled.
Definitely, and how it impacts on Merthyr Council and other authorities is that obviously that there's wood, there's food, there's in our wheelie bins. Then when this legislation is implemented, then we won't be allowed to put that. Although we don't put it in landfill at the moment, it goes to energy from waste. So it shouldn't really impact on us. But should we ever have the need to put some of our material into landfill, then it won't be accepted.
Thank you very much. Very interesting. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you, Clive. Anybody else got any questions? Okay, Stephen, I've got one for you. It's say at 4.5. It's in regards to the process with the keeping up with the Joneses. Just so I'm clear, it's got number of properties visited. So you visit all these 12,000 properties, and if you find recyclable goods in there, materials in there, they get sent a first letter. Now, when you come back 2 weeks later, if there's still recyclable materials in the bin, they get a Section 46 letter. Is that right?
That's right.
And then, okay, and then when you come back again on the third time, if there's still recyclable materials in there, they'll get a fixed penalty notice.
Yes.
Okay, so they have two chances, you know, not to get fined. And then just after that, then number of prosecutions. This is the people that don't pay those FPNs.
That's right.
Am I right?
Yes.
Okay. So can you tell me how much is it a fixed penalty notice if somebody doesn't recycle their material?
Fixed penalty notice is £100.
Okay. And if you go forward for prosecution, what's the likely fine for someone then?
There's been quite a variety over the years, but they sort of average out at between £300 and £400 now, which includes a recompense to the authority, and there's another element to it as well. Is that I'm not sure what that is, but there's three elements to the fine. But the main part of the fine is £300 to £400.
Lovely, Stephen. And I've just got one more question then, and it's in regards to 7.4. Oh no, sorry. It's in regards to 7.1. I see we're going to have another child curbside collection of plastic film. Now, I believe we had this before with plastic bags. Just check now I'm on the right one. 7.1. Oh no, 7.3. A child curbside collection of plastic film is planned for late spring, early summer. I believe we had one of these before. Was it successful?
We did. The first trial wasn't very successful. The quality of the plastic film in it wasn't good. It included a lot of crisp packets and plastic film that we'd asked residents not to put in there. So it was a contaminated load, really. So in partnership with RAP and Blaenau Gwent, County Borough Council, we're going to run this project now. We've been given specific dates now. we'll get the bags and the information out to the residents from week commencing the 19th of April, and the trial will commence on the 10th of May for 12 weeks.
Okay, lovely. Thank you, Stephen. Clive, did you want to come back in there? Your hand is raised. No?
Yeah. I wanted to clarify the cases, Stephen, that are taken to court and the fine if they're found guilty. Are the costs, because we then got to engage a solicitor to go to court. So do we cover our cost, do you happen to know, of going to court?
I'm not too sure, Councillor, on that. What we do, or what the legal department do, is not take individual cases one at a time. Is that the solicitor leaves them build up, so he takes about half a dozen in one go, and then spends an hour or so in court going through the 6, 7 or whatever he takes up. So I'm sure that makes it a little bit more cost effective. But we don't really focus on the income from these prosecutions, because our main aim is to make sure that these residents comply with our sustainable waste management requirements. So that's the benefit for us, really, is the saving that we get when our residents comply.
Oh, absolutely, I entirely agree with you. But I'm aware that obviously every case that the council takes to court for whatever reason, there's a cost there, because we have to engage a solicitor in other matters outside your domain. Some cases we have to engage a barrister. But in the case of a solicitor for these sort of items, we have to cover our costs. But you've answered the question that, for example, 5 cases there, you'd wait for whatever it is, half a dozen, then take them to court.
Yeah, if I could just come back in, I couldn't remember the other element to the fines earlier on, but it is court costs. So right. So we do get a recompense for what it costs us as well.
Lovely. Thank you very much. Thank you, Chair.
Okay. Any other members have any questions? No. Any comments by anyone? No, I've just got the one. It's just to thank Stephen and Paul for answering questions and putting this report together. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, we're going to go on to the next agenda item. And this is agenda item number 5, charging for wheeled bins. And I think this will be, I don't know if Judith's still here, but this will be Paul again and Stephen.
Yeah, as you can see from the report, we started charging over a year ago now for wheel bins. It's not a charge for the wheel bins, it's a charge for the administration and the delivery of the bin. The bin always stays the responsibility of the local authority, obviously, because we are telling people where to present it, where we want it. It always stays. As you can see in the report, we have saved on average up to £12,000 per year by charging. With the criteria of who we charge, there is no real criteria. We charge everyone unless it's a real. We do have a look at certain ones on their merit. You know, if we're asked to have a look at them by any of yourselves or any of the other councillors, we have a look at that on its merit. We have given bins out for free in the past if we think it's justified, but more often than not we charge for every wheel bin. As I say, it's not a charge for the bin, it's a charge for the administration and the delivery of the bin.
Lovely, thank you, Paul.
Sorry, can I just add to that briefly? What we have found and why we said about charging or suggested about charging and a recommendation by the authority a couple of years ago was what the wardens are finding whenever they go to properties, that a large amount of the residents have 2 or 3 bins within their garden, whether they use them for water butts, whether they use them for composting, holding stuff in, or whether they putting them out, in certain streets, because the 2 streets are collected on different days. We've known of residents to put the bin out full on one street on one day and then a different street on the next day. So obviously the figures that show of a snapshot in 2019 when we started charging, it went down from 266 bins which we had to deliver down to 66. I think it just proves that a large amount of the residents of Merthyr now are taking care of what receptacles we're giving them.
Thank you, Paul. Right, there's some questions from members. Councillor Jeremy Davis, you had your hand up first, I think, but it's gone down again. Now, did you have a question before I go to Malcolm?
Yeah, I understand with the charges now, but so how do we go about it if someone reports they've been stolen?
They got to apply for a new one and they got to pay for it.
Yeah, but what if they've been didn't get stolen? They got a crime reference number, and then they still got to pay for the bin.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, that's the system that's in place. Yeah.
Yeah, but surely there should be some leeway there, because if someone come up and pinch my bin, I wouldn't be happy. I'd have to pay for a new bin, and say I had video evidence or whatever, my bin was took, that I got to pay for a new bin.
Yeah, but you're not paying for the bin. You're paying for the administration and delivery of the bin.
Yeah, no, but when this first come through, it was said totally different. That if someone come up with a crime reference number, then the bin will be replaced free of charge. Common sense will prevail.
As soon as that gets out into the public domain, every single bin that goes missing will be stolen.
Yeah, I get what you're saying, but we don't have to put that in the public domain, really. That was discussed in a workshop, and that was why the bin charges were brought out. But then if there's no common sense involved, then how can we keep charging people for bins?
I think this may be something, Ger, we could take up maybe with the cabinet member on via email or something. I do know not everyone's happy with the way things have gone, but I think it's something that was voted on. Not everyone's happy with it, but maybe you could contact. I'll tag you into an email later, or I'll give you a ring later, and maybe you can do it in another way as well.
Can I just come in there? I think the problem is when we had the workshop, but when we was talking about the charging of the bin, when we had that discussion, the past chief executive did actually say from the front of the from his place on the rostrum that if anybody had a crime reference number, that they wouldn't be charged for the bin. And so that's why the confusion have come around, I think. That's why people now are, and still getting many councillors from both sides, in fairness. It's not from one or the other, saying, well, there was said in the workshop which we had, I wasn't a portfolio member at the time, but it was said at that time that if the person come along with a crime reference number, that they wouldn't be charged. You know, so that's where the confusion have come, and that's why I know a lot of people are quite vocal when they told that people have got to pay for it.
Lovely, thank you, David. Jeremy, did you have any other questions?
No, thank you, Chair.
Thank you, Chair. Malcolm and then Lee.
Yeah, thank you, Chair. Yeah, without banging on at this point too much, I'd also like it to be looked at for people that have to have yellow top bins on medical advice. They're not choosing to have a bin. I get what Paul was saying, it's an administration delivery charge, but it just seems unfair to me that a person who's having to have their bin replaced on a medical grounds gets charged. But again, perhaps we can take that up at a later date, as was said. The other thing is, Paul, you mentioned about people sometimes put more than one bin out on different days to be collected in different places. I understand that some places like Cardiff have barcodes on their wheel bins, so it's actually the bin is scanned when it's emptied, so that they know that bin, you know, is in the right place. Yeah. Is that something that we could consider?
we can consider it. So everything comes at a cost, as you know, councillor. We can consider it by all means. I think it's about £30,000 to put the barcode reader on the back of the vehicles. So I'd need 4 of those, and we'd need to barcode every single bin in the borough. What I'm trying to get at with and why I'm quite defensive, and sorry, I don't mean to come over as quite defensive. I'm quite defensive of this only because we are banging on about recycling rates and getting to 70%, and then we are saying that we need to give bins out with a crime number. I could phone the police myself now within 2 minutes and get a crime number, even though I got a bin out the back. And that bin and that crime number then will automatically give me a free bin. I just think we've got to be very careful what we do around this. By all means, suggestions, and by all means, whatever you come out with, you know, that's what the officers will have to take on. But I just want to make everybody aware that you need to be very careful here, because if you're giving out wheel bins with a crime number, as I say, I can just phone up and get a crime number within 10 minutes flat, and I'll have a free bin, and then I've got to find £12,000. Not only that, out of I go, like I say, I go one delivery driver, and one vehicle and one man. It's now we're about 4 to 5 weeks behind because of the influx of for extra boxes. If we're giving out wheel bins on crime numbers, we'll be about 6 months behind. I just want to make you aware of the whole scenario, and I am quite defensive on it because I want us to get that 70%.
Yeah, fully understand that. As I say, I'm not opposed to charging in principle, as long as we're doing it in a certain way. But as I say, it's a discussion for later. But yeah, the barcodes you don't think are a viable option due to the cost?
I'll certainly look into it, councillor, and I'll send you an email.
Okay, thank you.
Lovely, thank you, Malcolm. Lee?
Thanks, Chair. The question is about properties having more than one bin. I think it's 3.2. What do you do with the bins that you find? So if there's a co-located point with the pickup for the bins and you find there's more than the required amount, what do you do with that spare bin?
For the last couple of years, we've been trying to get away from collection points, obviously for those reasons, councillor. With regards to the bins, if for instance, I've got 2 bins at my house, the warden will call you. If it's accessible, he will take the bin away. We take them to Unit 5 to store, but then before giving them back out, we'll wash them and give them out to another resident.
It was only that I think I may have shared it with you in the past. There was 2 incidences in the Gurness where there was more than the required amount of bins, and the workers threw it in the back of the wagon and crushed it. So I just wanted to know that wasn't the case.
Oh no, that's not the case. So some bins do in the back of the vehicles, but to be honest, the crews are not told to put any excess bins into the back of the vehicles.
Yeah, so they get reused elsewhere then.
Yeah,
okay.
Yeah, we reuse them and wash them out.
I just want to know where you can get a crime reference number in 10 minutes. I'm on the phone to 101 for 3 hours when I ring them as well. So no, that's a joke. That's a joke.
Oh, yeah. No, I understand the joke. My father's a chief inspector.
All right, yeah. So yeah, well, tell him to sort out 101. I don't want to be on there for 3 hours.
You've been retired 30 years, man.
Yeah. All right. Okay. Sorry.
Okay. Anybody else got any questions? Okay, I've got just it's actually mine's more comments, I think. It is a question. All right, some comment and question. Paul, I think I've just got maybe a little bit of an issue with the wording in the report, that it doesn't really come across as it doesn't come across very well, to be honest. It comes across as a little bit condescending. I'm not saying that you wrote the report, but just maybe pass it on to whoever did the report. There's a few places where it says at 6.1, it says, where you say in the report, it says, we want to be in a position where residents take responsibility for the receptacles that the authority reply. Then in 4.2, it says, the figures indicate that residents are now taking more responsibility for their wheel bin. And then at 3.3, it says residents' behaviour in relation to taking responsibility to their wheel bin has changed as demand for new bins has decreased dramatically. Now, it just comes across in a little bit of a negative way, to be honest, because when a resident has a bin stolen, it's not their fault a lot of the time. You know, a lot of people, I myself have had my bin stolen. I live on a terrace street, and it's you know, we do everything we can, you know, to keep them safe, but it's I'm not taking my bin into my house, you know, through the house, and it's not feasible to take it down a back lane. I just think it comes across in the wrong way. So maybe you could just pass that on a little bit. I think Malcolm earlier was mentioning about the yellow top bins for people that are sick and that. I think just sometimes this is something obviously that we can talk to the cabinet member about. Really, it just comes across that there's a little bit of a lack of empathy from the local authority when people are sick, and when they need a bigger bin and then they're charged a £15. Obviously, that's not your fault. We voted this in, you know, to be honest, and maybe we should have asked more questions as members. I will ask though, would it be possible, this is my question after all that long ramble, would it be possible when you apply for a black bin, maybe the website could be changed to ask the questions why you need a black bin, where's it gone, maybe it's been stolen, maybe there was no bin there when you moved in, maybe, and I think that will help with understanding why people need the black bins. And I'm just wondering, obviously that's not you, maybe just pass it on to the IT department, maybe if those things are if it's possible to put those choices on there. And I think that's it, to be honest. I think that may be more of a comment than anything else, but has anybody else got any questions?
No, I just echo what you said, Deck, myself, right? That it should be saying what you need the bin for, because I've had residents that's moved into a property who needed a 3-bedroom instead of a 2-bedroom, or from a 3-bedroom to a 2-bedroom, and they moved in, there's no bin there, and they've been charged £15 for a bin. It's not their fault they moved to a property and there's no bin there. Yeah. So to me, we should look at the bigger picture and think of the way we go about there with these charges.
Yeah. Lovely, thank you, Chair. Paul, I have got one question. Is there also a way, obviously it's a £15 charge, some people won't pay it. Do you know, or is there a way of finding out of how many people haven't had a replacement bin and probably won't either?
I would say there's probably none, because the boys won't pick bags up. So if the boys don't pick the bags up, then you don't get rid of your waste. Sorry, councillor. I haven't had anybody phone for a new bin, then make the complaint about paying, but then not have one, if you know what I mean. They've always gone through and had it in the end of the day. And as you said earlier, you're dead right in what you're saying. It's not my policy. I haven't brought it in the charges. I'm just trying to stick to the policy. Yeah, that we might be able to have a bit of empathy in different circumstances, but at the end of the day, I've got a very small team and we just can't do everything. We can't ask questions to every single person. Like I say, last week, a month ago, we had 160 a week. So if I had to speak to 160 people to ask them exactly why they wanted a receptacle, why was it stolen, was it a new tenant, I just couldn't do it. This week, I had 800. So I would have had to phone, say 10% of that was wheel bins, I would have to phone 80 people. It's just not manageable.
No, I'm just asking, when people go on the website to pay for it, there could be that option to ask why.
I definitely have a look into that, because I think that's right, councillor. I think that would be an option to put down new tenant, stolen, with a, perhaps even a box there that they could put the crime reference number in. I don't know. I will speak to IT tomorrow.
Okay, lovely, Paul. And I think you'll find that councillors not having a go to you. Obviously, we're the ones that voted this in. and maybe we should have asked some more questions on the night we voted it through, to be honest, because I know it's a bugbear for a lot of councillors.
I agree with you there, Dick. That's nothing against Paul. It got voted in, and I don't think none of us seen the bigger picture of what was coming down the line with it.
Yeah. Anybody else got any comments? Okay, my last comment then. Paul, thank you very much for answering our questions and putting this report together. And don't take offence at anything.
No, I won't. I just, with waste management, you do take it personally because I want to get those figures, obviously.
And that's commendable, that is, and I really hope we do get to the 70%. I wish you luck.
We will try.
Yeah. Okay, I think that's all the reports finished, so the officers can leave if you like. You probably had enough of us now, and you've probably got lots of things to do. I will go on to agenda item number 6, and it's the forward work programme. Right, this is, I believe, Maria, the last meeting of Neighbourhood Services for this financial year, and of course we're going to need people's ideas for forthcoming meetings. Obviously, we don't have to go through them here unless anybody has something they'd like to bring up straight away, if they've got it on the tip of their tongue. But it's something I think maybe if we can send an email around, asking people for their ideas. Obviously, then we normally the chair and the vice chair would meet with the cabinet member and the chief officer as well. And I'm quite sure a lot of the things that we've covered, well, over the last 3 years, really, some of them will come back up over the next year. Clive, did you want to come in?
Yes, I just wanted to clarify, looking at the forward work programme for the next meeting, am I right in saying, according to the forward work programme, there are no items at the moment? Is that right, Maria?
This is the last neighbourhood scrutiny meeting for this municipal year.
Yeah.
So we're at the stage where we're preparing for the next meeting.
Yeah.
But those dates are obviously confirmed at the AGM.
Yes, I'm aware. But obviously we know there's going to be another scrutiny committee in the not too distant future. And from what the chair has said, because we might have had, I don't know, 2 or 3 items left here that for various reasons we couldn't have been dealt with. But as it stands at the moment, the agenda for the next meeting in whatever it is, approximately 6 weeks' time, there's nothing on it.
Not as we currently stand. The only thing that's always a standing agenda item for the first meeting of every municipal year is to look at the work programme. There are topics which you've mentioned since I've been covering the meeting, certainly. So I'm not sure whether you wanted to put those, sort of line one of those up now. The immediate one that jumps to mind is the queries and questions you had about the nappy recycling.
That is a very good point, Maria. I'm glad you brought it up. We have discussed it in the past, and I know the chair with inquiries, I think a few of the members, not everybody, had an approach from a particular firm that deals with this. But I think that's right and proper that we consider that. I mean, I'd just give an example in my own family. It happens to be my daughter. We had 2 young children who at one time were both in nappies, and there is no way on this earth that you can put a fortnight supply of nappies from 2 young children in that bin together with other items. It will not fit into it.
No.
And I suggested that she made a request to have a larger bin, and it was refused. So that's going on all at the moment, but it's ludicrous, isn't it? We're talking about recycling and reducing what we put in the black bins in this day and age to continue with the vast amount of nappies, incontinent pads, etc., they should not be going in any black bin. For a start, it's completely unhygienic.
Okay.
Maria, can I just ask, the AGM is scheduled for the 19th of May. So will it be the next meeting, will it be 6 weeks after that, or is this 6 weeks from today?
We haven't been issued the dates for next year yet. I know they're lined up, but we haven't actually had them. What I can do for you certainly is to check back with Anne Taylor in Democratic to see whether she can give us an indication of the date of that first meeting, there or thereabouts, and just qualify whether it's approximately 6 weeks from the date of this meeting or 6 days from the date of the AGM.
Sorry, can I intervene at this stage? Because for the first time, and it was quite right to do it, Anne Taylor and co have put in the dates right up until the end of the 5-year term.
Right, okay.
For that, so I kept a list here somewhere, and that hasn't happened before, where you've got dates, so you know when you get to the AGM, and people are confirmed on different committees, but you know before the AGM, it's 99% certain that those will be the dates, so that all the dates of the scrutiny committees, audit committee, etc., planning, are all there at the moment.
Okay, no problem. Well, if I task myself to go back and have a chat with Anne, just so that we can get a ballpark date in our diaries, and then obviously the confirmation will go ahead at the AGM as normal, but it will still give the officers who will be drafting whatever reports the opportunity to start that as early as possible. If the committee are comfortable with that, I'm happy to do that.
But I am for one, and can I suggest to the chair that first item on the agenda for that meeting should be what exactly we're going, because it's been frankly from the discussion we've had before, in my view, and I might be wrong in saying this, but it's been pushed into the bit of the long grass, as if to say that'll be a few years hence, and I don't think we should be doing that as an authority when we've got a number of other authorities not a million miles away from this. RCT, for example, have been doing it for several years.
Okay.
Just to jump in there, guys, I believe Thomas Butler's his hand up for a bit, unless his legs hand.
Hi. Another thing was the proposed change of the time. Obviously, we've changed the time now to, I think, 3:45 for the pre-meeting and 4:15 for the main meeting. Is this going to stay the same? As obviously, I'd like it to because of school, and I don't know, can't really be missing school.
I agree with Thomas, but that'd be easier for me if we keep them the same, Tom, yeah?
Keep it the same as it is now.
Yeah.
Good, I don't want to go back into that again, to be honest.
No, I don't think there's any plans to change the start time. So just to confirm, from this point forward, as far as my understanding is, the pre-meeting starts at 3:45 and the full meeting starts at 4:15.
Yeah, that would be fine.
Yeah, picking up on what Clive said about the nappies as well, I've tried ringing this nappy cycle and I've left messages, but I've had no return of call yet, so I'll just keep trying.
Neither have I. I've just got to say emails, phone calls, nothing, no reply.
Okay. Yeah, it's a bit frustrating when it was them that contacted us in the first place, isn't it?
Yeah, I got a letter in front of me. It's always on my desk in front of me, so yeah. And
just to back up what Clive said about families with 2 toddlers or two children in nappies having bins, I've had half a dozen residents in a similar situation have asked for a bigger bin, and every single one of them has been declined.
Yeah,
so
absolutely.
That's a bit frustrating as well.
It is.
Maria, one possible thing before we skip on to the next item. I know we've discussed this before, and it's about PSPOs, Public Spaces Protection Orders. Now, I do know there's two. I've been contacted by two sports teams who are interested in having a PSPO on their pitch. One is in, I think their pitch is in Swansea Road, I think it is, but I'll have to confirm that. And the other is Dowlas Rugby Club, because dogs are going on there. I'm just wondering if we could speak in a bit more depth about having a trial, a trial period of 12 months or something like that, and how we would go about it. We'd have to get Simon Jones to come in it, and maybe the committee could discuss the pros and cons of having that, because obviously not all residents will be happy with it.
Yeah, didn't Cardiff Council try this a couple of years ago, and they had a big backlash against it?
I don't know if I. Hello. I think I'm freezing. I am I?
You did a little, yes.
You there, Dick? No, he's gone.
I'm here again. I've been freezing it, so I don't know how much of that you caught.
No, none of it.
None. Okay, great. Basically, what it is about PSPOs. I've had two sports teams
Dick,
contact
we heard
me.
that bit, yeah.
They want to do something about dogs going on their pitch.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Okay.
I was just saying, Dick, that Cardiff tried this a couple of years ago, and there was a huge backlash against it.
Yeah.
And they ended up withdrawing it.
Yeah. But I'm just wondering if it's something we could discuss. Maybe if I put more detail into it in an email, and have a chat with Simon, and I'll come back to you on that. And I think if Maria, if we can organise for the vice chair, Councillor David Jones, myself, the cabinet member, and the chief officer to meet up to discuss a forward work programme, because I think the cabinet are possibly having a forward work programme as well. So maybe we can link in with that. But I've got to speak to Di as well tomorrow. So
yeah, not a problem. I'll have a look at dates in diaries and get something out to you. Okay.
Okay. Anybody else on it? Got anything on the on this agenda item?
Yeah, just one thing, Dick, is not a rush like, but do you know what, when litter gets picked up by all community groups from the council, whatever, that can we know if this rubbish gets separated, or does it get put onto our tonnage? Where does it go? Do you know what I mean? Does it just go like straight in the script because it's in bags, or do they chuck it in the plastic and cans? Because I know when we separate things.
Yeah, I think the policy is now they've got to open all bags. So Paul and Kevin have told me that deal with the Dowlas and Pant area and Galnacha. But yeah, Marie, if you can send an email, so maybe members can have a think about it, what can go on the next forward work programme, and if you could arrange a meeting at the officer's convenience for the chair, vice chair, and for those to meet.
Yeah, happy to.
Okay. Agenda item number 7, scrutiny, referrals, feedback, and follow-up actions. I have no referrals or feedback. No. Agenda item number 8, reflection and evaluation of the meeting. I do think that the agenda item number 5, the black bins, I think it's obviously a bugbear for most councillors, in some of the, because of some of the people that are being charged. My own opinion is we don't have enough empathy as a council sometimes for people that are ill and that sort of thing. So I think this is something I think maybe we could bring up with the cabinet member. So I could send an email on behalf of the scrutiny committee and see what Di says about that.
I've got, as I said, as some members have said, Malcolm said earlier, he's got no issue with a £15 charge as long as it's done in the right way. I don't know if anyone else has got anything to add on that.
No, I agree with that, Chair.
Okay, I was waiting for Di to come in. No. Right, agenda item number 9. Any other business? I have none. And then with no further business, I formally close this committee meeting. And thank you very much, everyone, and stay safe.
All right.
Thank you, Chair.
Take care, everyone.
Take care, everyone.
Ciao for now.